Councilwoman McDermott. Mayor Kennedy.
Here. As a courtesy around you, for those around you, can you please silence your cell phones? We're all going to rise.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let record show that Councilwoman McDermott is present. At this time, I'd like to call members of the Triano family forward. They have a presentation they'd like to make this evening.
Mayor, if you don't mind, just before you go, let me just say one quick thing.
Of course, Chief. Sorry.
Chief Hafner, I'd like to say one thing really quick. On January 8th, the Keyport Police Department responded to a serious accident where there were multiple pedestrians struck by a car. The 2 small children and 1 adult involved were initially rendered unconscious and suffered extensive and serious injuries. If it were not for the quick response of all officers and first responders involved, the outcome surely would have been different. I would be remiss, however, if I did not acknowledge the swift actions of many Keyport residents. Calling 911, assisting with stabilizing and comforting the injured are just some of the efforts they made. It's times such as these that the cohesiveness of the community shine through. I would now like to introduce the family that was impacted by this event. Please come up.
Hannah, can you Hannah,
So hello all. For those of you who don't know us, we're the Triano and Lopes family that was affected in the January 8th accident. When I have to relive that day back in January, so many emotions run through my mind. We are a long way from that day, and I'm happy to say that all 3 pedestrians, my mother, my nephew Augie, and my son, are all doing okay. And they're on the mend thanks to the amazing doctors, nurses, therapists we've encountered over the past few months. However, none of this would be possible without the quick action of our first responders, of our beloved town of Keyport. I'm at a loss of words just how to thank you all, because words could never be enough. So let me just start off by saying thank you. Thank you to the first responders: Charles, Rick, Ginny, Brett, Mike, Steven, Tyler, Dylan, Dan, Robert, Alex, Jeff, Andrew, and Kenny Crow. Kenny, I would like to give you an extra thank you because you're the reason that Keyport has one of the finest first aid squads in the area. Thank you to the police officers: Ashley, Cassandra, Matt, Mark, Joseph, Robert, Kevin, and Debbie. Some of you I know personally and are just like family to me. I can only imagine how hard this was on you. I would imagine how sometimes in your profession you almost go numb to answering calls. Well, because it's your job. But I can only imagine how this call was so much different for you, knowing the faces of the victims all too well. So I admire your courage and strength to push through those feelings to get the job done. Lieutenant Mike Firm, I know you're really close to my parents, and this call was probably extremely difficult for you. To Chief Hafner, Mark, thank you for being so emotionally involved in this whole ordeal, and for being the first to let my uncle, Lieutenant Siegel, know about the situation. I know that phone call must have been extremely difficult for you to make, because you're like an extended family member to us. I thank you for your continued compassion and support for my family throughout this whole ordeal. Keyport could not have picked a finer police chief to represent this incredible department. Lieutenant Shannon, congratulations. And thank you for being one of the first people people I spoke to when arriving to the hospital. Your compassion when I first arrived at the hospital was incredible. Your presence and comforting words gave me enough strength to pull it together and speak to the doctors with a more clear mind. I don't know if you remember this or not, but the words were something along the lines of, even though you have a lot going on right now, you will have to talk to the doctors soon, and you need to be able to listen to them with a clear mind and be strong for your son. I just want to personally thank you because in that moment you helped me with so much without even knowing it. So thank you. Sergeant Dixon, Steve, I cannot express to you how much I love you for escorting the boys to the hospital and for visiting constantly to continually check in on them days after the accident happened. You really are like an uncle to me, and words cannot express how much more you mean to me even now. To the Mayor of Keyport, Colette Kennedy. Colette and I have been friends for quite some time, and she made sure to always reach out weekly to make sure that my family and I were okay, and she even came to visit us while we were staying in the hospital. So to the Mayor, thank you so much. Officer Lineberg, Kelly, first to the hospital to make sure that the boys got there and were safe and in good hands. As soon as everyone arrived at the hospital, you were the first face that they all saw, and they all tell me how much you helped them in calming them down. So thank you, Kelly. You all stepped up immensely and knew exactly what to do and did it in the blink of an eye. So I want to thank you all. I want to thank you as a citizen of Keyport. I want to thank you as a daughter of a mother who was just injured in a tragic accident. Thank you as an aunt who had to watch her nephew go through multiple surgeries and learn how to walk again. And mostly, thank you as a mother. I had to watch my son battle for his life while not even being able to hold him for almost 10 days. He would not have gotten that chance if it weren't for you. I just wanted to share with you all what the last few months have been like for my family and I. And we have a video to show you. It's a 2-minute long video just of the progress that the boys have made. This is a few days before the accident.
Your dad? Good morning. Good time. Come on, Jen.
four residents. Okay, good.
I want to personally thank you for being there. I know what you went through because I was in your car, but I was all over the place. Steve, you and your crew there, Adolf, you saved his life. You too, bro. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say because I can't take much.
As I recall that before, all have certificates from the Keyport Police Department. I'd like to give it to them afterwards, but there were also four residents that I want to make sure that they're recognized as well. And if they're here, if they could please stand up. Kevin Davis. Angel Hope. Maya Slack. And of course, Heather Walsh McVeigh. She's here. Please stand.
I'd like to make a motion to switch the agenda so that we could pull one resolution separate and do it first for the 16819. If we could pull that and do that now, if I could get a motion for that. Motion. All in favor?
Aye.
So, for 16819, it's authorizing the promotion to position of captain in the Keyport Police Department for Lieutenant Shannon Torres, and I'll need to have a motion and a second and a roll call on this, please.
Motion. Councilman Sheridan.
Yes.
Councilman Cooper.
Yes.
Can I get a motion to open this to the public for consent agenda item 16819? All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 16819 is authorizing promotion to position of captain in the Keyport Police Department. If anyone from the public would like to speak before we take a vote, we have a motion to close.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the promotion of position of captain in Keyport Police Department.
Second.
Have a roll call, please. We just wanted to wait that out a little longer.
Councilman Sheridan.
Yes.
Councilman Cooper.
Yes.
Councilman Good.
Yes.
Councilman Jacob. Councilman Topless.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Let's call Shannon.
Nick, go around back.
I, Shannon Torres, do solemnly swear
I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of
Keyport Police Department Captain
Keyport Police Department Captain according to the best of my ability. Thank you.
want to congratulate Captain Torres on her promotion. She has over 23 years of service to law enforcement. She began as a Monmouth County Sheriff's Officer and then later became a patrolwoman for the Keyport Police Department. She has worked as detective, detective sergeant, lieutenant before reaching the rank of captain tonight. She has assisted with the growth of many programs within this department. She is truly a hard-working and dedicated officer who is an asset to the department and to the borough of Keyport. Congratulations.
Move right, right. Move up to it, through.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, council members on the dais, citizens here in the chamber. I'll briefly report on my activities since our last meeting, and I'll answer any questions that might arise. Since we last met, at the following meetings, we met with the video company about installing cameras in the council chamber. I met with staff regarding new drug testing rules. We interviewed laborers for summer seasonal employment. We met with Freehold IT regarding network and server upgrades. Participated in a pre-construction meeting regarding the beach park outfalls. Participated in a local emergency planning committee meeting regarding hazard mitigation planning. We met with the recreation proposers who are going to be doing some work for us this summer with various programs. I met with a planning consultant. I met with volleyball coaches about having a beach volleyball league this summer. We held a meeting regarding summer camp. I attended a senior bus meeting, met with our Eagle Scout candidate who completed his project on time. I attended the Bayshore Mayor's meeting along with Mayor Kennedy, and we spoke about shared services. I attended a Mayor's Roundtable meeting on cannabis and affordable housing. Attended a meeting with NJDOT regarding the Broadway Bridge over Route 35, which is going to be rehabilitated in the coming years. We attended a meeting of the Monmouth County Tourism Board Advisory Board along with Mayor Kennedy and Jack Straub. We met with the Keyport Garden Club, meeting with Joe Merla, met with NJDOP regarding our streetscape safety project, and we toured the project site with several concerned citizens, and Councilman Patopoulos joined us, and our engineer. We met with the union regarding employee issues. I had a coordination meeting with the Keyport Garden Walk in anticipation of that event. Attended a rec committee meeting. And I attended a storm damage assessment meeting with Ken Crow this morning at the County Fire Academy. With regard to ongoing open projects, the Beach Park and Beer Street outfall reconstruction is set to begin within the next few weeks, and it will take several months to complete. This involves rehabilitating and extending several storm outfalls, which should improve stormwater drainage and reduce flooding events. This project's been in the planning stages for well over a year, and it's nice to see it getting kicked off. The improvements at Benjamin Terry Park and Veterans Park, the grass has sprouted and it looks nice. There was some issues with the wind that blew away the protective hay around the area at Cedar Street, and it blew it into Cedar Street Park, so we've asked the contractor to clean that area up, and we'll be doing some landscaping in that area as well. We're circling the airport on the DPW building. I have to schedule a meeting with Trevor and the construction official to find out what the holdup is. Met a meeting today with a prospective developer who's interested in the Manchester property. He's interested in constructing 4-cell condo flats and townhomes. So I'm sure we'll have a follow-up meeting with him. Phase 1 of our 2019 paving project has begun. Beginning with curbs and sidewalks on Main Street, and they're going to be paving Main Street from Front to Maple, Monroe Street from Broad to Atlantic after we do some water main work there, and Madison Street. With regard to, I think I mentioned earlier, our DOT Transportation Alternatives Project, we met with representatives from NJDOT and our selected design consultants along with several concerned citizens. We walked the project limits, and citizens had an opportunity to point out their concerns, which will be taken into consideration as the project moves. Project limits include all of West First Street, all of West Front Street from Broad to Broadway, all Broadway from West Front Street to the bridge, and then part of Maple Place on the other side. The balance of the 2019 paving project, phases 2 and 3, we have on our agenda a resolution awarding a contract to our engineer to design the project, and we also have a bond ordinance to cover the balance of expenses for the other phases of this project. Streets to be paved under the phases 2 and 3 include Division Street from Front to 3rd Street, East Front Street, 3rd from Atlantic to the end, and 3rd from Main to Broadway, Main Street from Maple to 36, Kearny Street from Stout to the end, Warren Street from Main to Broad, and Hurley Street from Main to Broad. Main Street Park, we've resolved our outstanding issues with the county, and our insurance carrier has asked us to install a fence around the skate park features, so we're revising our estimate, and we expect to be out to bid on this by the end of the month. Application for Green Acres funding for Jack Conway Park has been filed. If it is approved, and we expect it to be approved, then we will rehabilitate that park using county open space funds and Green Acres funds at little or no cost to the borough. We're also looking forward to conducting some work on Teresa Street Park and Cedar Street Park, as well as we're discussing certain upgrades to be made to the mini park. With regard to redevelopment, Mariners Village is processing their capital permit, which they tell us is their last hurdle before entering the construction phase of their project. Aero Marine continues to express an interest in selling their property. I was contacted by an agent working for Cappadocia Meridia Group, and they are continuing to try and purchase the property. Longview Boat Works, they came in today to finalize water and sewer disconnections, so we're seeing progress, although it's slow. On 149 West Front Street, the mayor asked me to look into the condition of the silt fence as well as the bulkhead. We asked the engineer to conduct a review of the bulkhead as well as they have replaced the silt fence. I have also spoken with them about their dumpster enclosure, and they've hired a contractor to build a dumpster enclosure. And finally, I asked for a meeting with them to find out how we can help move their project along. Scattered sites, I talked about Manchester. The balance of the properties in the scattered sites redevelopment plan seem to be one by one spontaneously being purchased and rehabilitated. We're having a discussion later on tonight about the NPP program, Neighborhood Preservation Program, and we're looking at making an application for funding to focus on both Route 35 and 36 corridors, and I know it's a typo in the report, and it will also include the area between 35 and Clark Street, where we have some businesses that have recently gone out of business, to see if we can stimulate some kind of economic growth there. The water treatment plant upgrades are continuing apace. The new tanks were installed, and we're on track for the December completion date. Regarding complete streets, I've previously met with the folks at the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority who are funding the development of our complete streets policy, our complete streets ordinance, and a demonstration project. They have drafted an RFP for the consultant to hire a consultant to work with us, which will be paid for by their grant funds. And we expect this to be advertised in June with an award at the end of June. And once the consultant's on board, we can start the process of developing our own complete streets policy, which will include a lot of public meetings. The demonstration project that we're considering involves making Broad Street one-way from Maple Place to Front Street, and making Main Street one-way from Front Street to Maple Place. We have on our agenda a number of items related to technology upgrades, related to our new phone system and the county dispatch system. These were expenses that were contemplated and funded in the budget. We're meeting on Thursday with regard to the flood control ordinance, and I'm hopeful that we will have an adoptable ordinance ready to be introduced at our next meeting. We have begun a shared service dialogue at the Bayshore Mayor's meeting with our neighboring communities, and we're beginning with a survey of capabilities so that we can determine who has strength and who has weaknesses in certain areas, and see if we can share services and try and save some money. We've received word that our high-speed fiber internet line is being installed, hopefully this week or next week. Once that's done, then we can move forward with the new phone system and other important initiatives regarding internet access. The library bond hasn't been announced yet. We're prepared with a list and a project that is shovel-ready that we can jump on as soon as the grant is announced, and we can make application for it. We have our calendar year 2019 budget on for public hearing tonight. Still waiting for the report on the Borough Hall leaks. Summer recreation, we met with the rec committee on Monday and went over what appears to be a pretty good comprehensive plan for a fun summer camp offering for the community. And let's see what else. There. I've also received a number of proposals for different recreation services, including yoga at the Bay, Tai Chi, Pilates, art lessons, and the development of a beach volleyball league. So we expect to offer a number of programs to the community for their enjoyment over the course of the summer. And we're whittling down the summer movie list. We'll be having movies on Friday nights with the exception of Fireman's Fair Week. So I hope to have that schedule available on Monday. And we're pursuing these energy initiatives that I announced last month. We also have a public hearing on later for a neighborhood preservation program grant application, and I can discuss that in further detail at that time. And we had a meeting with the local emergency planning committee and consultants working for Monmouth County about hazard mitigation. I do have a meeting tomorrow with our marine and coastal engineers, and we expect to develop a list of updated projects that we would like to include in hazard mitigation. and I'll circulate that once the list is promulgated, and then we can agree on what we'll put in the plan, because it's got to be in the plan to be funded. Then finally, I attended this damage assessment session with Ken Pro at the Monmouth Fire Academy. I was very impressed with their plans for the future, and the gist of what they're going to be introducing is twofold. One is a shared arrangement between municipalities so that when a storm hits, those towns that weren't badly affected can share their resources with the towns that were badly affected, instead of waiting for the construction official to be available or to get finished with work. You'd have a team that would be authorized to go in, of construction officials from the region. They also have a new software program that they're piloting that will be very useful in assessing damage and helping people find shelter and find the resources to get their properties repaired through FEMA. So it was a good session, well worth attending. That's what I've been up to.
I have a quick question on the paving projects versus
Sure.
section 2 and 3, or
Yes.
part 2 and 3. I know when we were putting those applications in, we had also talked about Center Street and 7th Street, as well as
Yes.
Church and Maple Hurley.
Church will not be included this year. That's a larger job, but we can get Center Street in.
And 7th, maybe?
I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
When you say 3rd Street, how far 3rd Street are you going?
There's two sections. One is from Atlantic to the dead end, which is in really bad shape. And then there's another section, I'm going to stretch it a little bit because we have to address by the library, and then over to Main Street. So I'm expecting to go across Broad, 3rd, across to the other side. Yeah.
What are you doing on Teresa?
Teresa Street itself, at this point, there's no plans to do anything there.
Come up. I thought you had mentioned something.
I mentioned the park. Yeah, we're looking to find grant funds to upgrade the park. While it is one of the newer Keyport parks, it still is dated in terms of its safety surface and play structure. There's been
It floods.
it does flood, yeah.
Yeah, the basketball court is in disrepair.
There's mosquito issues. Okay.
So in your library report, you talk about the chimney, you had no RFPs?
Yeah, we went out again for proposals to have somebody come in and fix the chimney. Trevor sent it out to 7 different chimney repair companies, and nobody responded. So at some point, we're going to have to declare it an emergency and just hire a contractor to fix it. The one company that we had the contract with kept putting it off, and then finally we said, when are you coming? They said, we're not. You know, so it's hard to find people who want to do work.
Steve, when a contractor does something like that, when we go to bid, is there a way to report that or get them on record?
If it were a formal bid process, by bidding, they're committing to doing something at a set price.
It wasn't, it was
It
just
was
finding
under the
best
bid
price.
threshold, so they were competitive quotes,
Okay.
and it's a little less formal. There's really not much you can do about it.
Thanks.
So when can we get to the point that we do an emergency?
I talked to Trevor. I just found this out today. Trevor said nobody responded. I just got an email. I'll be talking to him tomorrow about what our next step is to get the chimney done.
Will let me know by Thursday?
Sure, yeah.
Thank you. I have a few updates also. I attended the Touch a Truck event with the Keyport Special Education Parent Advisory Group. I attended a planning board class with several other planning board members on Saturday, April 13th. I attended with Steve and the emergency team and Councilman Sheridan and the local emergency planning committee, which I thought was very productive and informative. And I hope that they take all of our suggestions and tips and and move forward. That would be amazing.
It's important to point out too that we were the first town in the county to have them come back.
Yeah, they put out the request and you had until June and then September, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was great on organizing part on your stuff. Thank you for that. We met with the new president of Kiwanis, and I'm hoping that we'll have some productive community projects coming forward from them, which I think are going to be exciting and a way to work nicely together. Attended the New Jersey Conference of Mayors Convention down in Atlantic City. The hot topics there were recycling and marijuana topics, legalization of that, and what the towns would need to do for all different aspects, from dispensary or to growing or to selling. Attended a Main Street, New Jersey seminar in Vineland, and we're hoping for that legislation to pass so that it gets refunded, and that the funding for that has been stopped for 7 years. They're hoping to repass that and get that funded again. We were not in the original program for that, but they are lowering the resident requirement, and we'll be able to hopefully apply in July so that we can receive some funding from that project, from that program. Attended the Senior Center Volunteer Annual Luncheon. Attended the Bayshore Mayor's meeting, as Administrator Gallo indicated. The topic was shared services, so thank you for organizing all of that and compiling all the data. I know you ended up with that on your lap somehow, so thank you for that. The next meeting we're going to have for the Bayshore Mayor's meeting is going to be recycling. That's a really hot topic right now because of China not purchasing our recyclables any longer. So a lot of towns are facing a shortage from the tonnage grant on that. Attended the farewell services for Reverend Williams, who's retiring, and we had recognized him for all his efforts and leadership on various projects over the years in Keyport. Attended a Monmouth County tourism meeting. As Administrator Gallo said, KBBC President Jack Straub also attended, as well as several other mayors from the Bay Shore. We were pretty much Bay Shore united there, which was great. Tom Arnone, freeholder Tom Arnone is in charge of the tourism at Monmouth County. They're really putting a huge initiative, but we did point out how the Bay Shore is never usually recognized in their initiatives. They heard us loud and clear. They've agreed to have a second kickoff to summer in the Bay Shore area in June. I'll be finalizing those details probably tomorrow when I meet with Cliff Moore. And they've also agreed to partially fund a campaign for next year called Bay Shore 2020, so that we can get Bay Shore back on the map. So that's really exciting, and it was nice to have our voices heard, so that was great. Participated in the KBBC stakeholder meeting, meet and greet, and attended the annual fire department inspection on this past Saturday. A couple upcoming notes. This Saturday, we're going to promote Stamp Out Hunger, which is put on by the local Postal Carrier Association. So we'll put up announcements soon on social media suggesting people to leave out canned, non-perishable food near their mailboxes for their postal carriers to collect this Saturday. Our next set of business ribbon cuttings will be this coming Saturday as well. And the next set of hydrant flushing for the borough is scheduled May 20th to 24th. Thank you. Now we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Resolution 16719 is the payment of bills. Resolution 16819 authorizes the promotion to position of captain. We've already voted on that one. Resolution 16919 authorizes a designated employee representative, also known as a DER, under federal drug policy guidelines recommended by the Monmouth County Municipal JIF. And those two names will be Robert Kutchman and Denise Nellis. Resolution 17019 authorizes the hiring of Special Law Enforcement 1 candidate, Robert Adams. Resolution 17119 authorizes the hiring of Summer Recreation Camp Director and 2 camp supervisors for the 2019 Summer Recreation Program. Resolution 17219 approves the 2019 Summer Recreation Programs. Resolution 17319 authorizes the shared service agreement with Keyport Public Schools for the use of the school resource officers, special law enforcement officers in Keyport Public Schools. Resolution 17419 ratifies and confirms the Borough Engineer's emergency declaration that the water main break on New Jersey State Highway 35 constituted an emergency, and ratifying the authorization for the Borough to make any necessary payments for repairs. Resolution 17519 authorizes the purchase of security camera system for the Borough. Resolution 17619 authorizes upgrades to the information technology network infrastructure for the Borough. Resolution 17719 authorizes an award of a fair and open contract for professional engineering services in association with the NJDOT Municipal Aid Program grant. That's fiscal year 2018 and fiscal year 2019, and that is awarded to CME Associates in the amount of $179,500. Resolution 17819 cancels capital appropriation balances. Resolution 18119 is a temporary capital budget, and Resolution 18219 is emergency temporary appropriation.
Do we still need 181 after our conversation this afternoon? Or 182? Which one?
We will be adopting the budget tonight, so no, it won't cause any harm if we do it, but either way, it doesn't matter. You can leave it, yeah.
Okay. Just making sure. Can I have a motion to open to the public?
Move it.
All in favor? Anyone from the public wish to come forward? Yes, Mr. Brown?
Elmer Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. A few questions on here. Resolution 17319, Steve. Can you more or less briefly explain that?
This resolution renews and extends an agreement with the Keyport Board of Education to provide school resource officers and special law enforcement officers to maintain safety and security in the schools.
Okay. All right, what about 17419?
This past winter we had 2 emergencies up on Route 35. Actually, I thought this was 36. Yeah, they're 136. This is the borough engineer declaring an emergency. It was in the middle of winter. It had to be repaired. So rather than being able to go through the process where we solicit bids and award a contract that can take weeks, we had to pick somebody. So the engineer solicits proposals from various firms that do this type of work. And based on the emergency declaration, we hired a contractor who made the repairs very quickly and got service back within, I think, 12 hours of the break.
Okay.
So we have to recognize that it's an emergency declaration and we have to receive authorization to pay the bills.
Okay. What about 17719?
17719 is related to phases 2 and 3 of the paving project that we expect to execute over the course of the summer. In order to get out to bid, we have to have a project design, so we need an engineer to do that. This includes design, bid phase services, and construction management.
Alrighty. Of course, it'll benefit the taxpayers, right?
Get a lot of streets paved.
Okay. What about resolution 180-119? Can you explain that?
Both 181 and 182 are related to the paving project. It's kind of a convoluted issue, but we introduced our budget 28 days ago. We anticipate having a public hearing, the adoption of the budget today. Every 3 years, municipality's budget has to be reviewed by the state. This was the year that our budget was reviewed, and the state was very behind on telling us whether or not they approved the budget. We just found out late this afternoon that it was approved, so we can go ahead with the adoption today. But these 2 resolutions were put on in the event that we weren't able to adopt the budget. Otherwise, we would have to wait another month or so until we could begin planning for the paving project, setting the project back. So we put these 2 resolutions on just to give us a belt and suspenders to allow us to move forward with awarding a contract for paving of those streets. We have a small window within which we want to get a lot of work done. We like to do this work when school is out. We like to do it in the summer months. Putting asphalt down when it's cold is not a good idea because it doesn't adhere as well. So we want to get this done in the summer.
Okay, and one last thing. What's the latest on getting the governor to come here for town hall?
No update on that.
Especially after he was in UN Township for town hall yesterday.
Oh, he's all over the place, yeah, but we have requested it. I haven't heard anything back.
I think he's avoiding Keyport.
You think? Yeah?
I think so too.
Okay.
Tough questions we're going to ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to come forward on anything listed on the agenda? Yes, Ms. Lawrence?
George Wallingford, 2nd Street. In regards to the promotion from lieutenant to captain, are we still going to have a 2 lieutenant position?
At present, we have a chief, a captain, and a lieutenant.
as of tonight.
Yes.
Right. Are we still going to go back to a 2-lieutenant position?
Presently, there's no plan to add another lieutenant.
Okay.
Position still remains. I mean, we're not changing the ordinance, it's there. That's what you were asking that.
Well, the purpose of going to 2 lieutenants was to eliminate the captain's position.
So it's just, it's listed there. At some point in the future, who knows? It's there. We're not changing, not eliminating it in.
That's my question. We're not going to eliminate it.
It's going to exist but be empty.
Okay. Thank you.
In other words, the option remains to have 2 lieutenants. Just right now, I don't know if that's in the plan.
What was the main idea to promote to captain when we had the 2-lieutenant position?
Do you want to answer?
Well, you want to jump in, so then finish it.
Okay. Sir.
I think that Lieutenant Torres, now Captain Torres, has had an outstanding career. I think that we are a community that rewards good service. In this particular instance, I think the salary increase was about $6,000. And we have to begin to plan for the future when our police chief might retire and prepare people to take over. There's always a succession plan where the lower ranks move up when the senior ranks retire. So that's basically what's behind this.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Joey?
Just so we be on record, I'm not against this happening.
I understand.
Just curious
I
about
understand.
what is the structure going to be.
Can I take a moment to protect this valuable electronics?
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that the police department?
Yes, yes it is.
Michael Lane, 51 First Street, Keyport. On resolution 173 for the shared services with the Board of Education, is that in the Keyport budget or the Board of Education budget?
It's in the Board of Education. They reimburse us.
Thank you. On 175, authorizing the purchase of security cameras, where will they be utilized?
Throughout the building, the premises, both outdoors and indoors, and in the police department.
Oh, it's for the council building?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the system that's in place is showing its age and starting to fail.
Because I had been talking in the past to put some stuff in it. Okay, thank you. Mayor Kennedy, in the meeting that you attended, the Bay Shore mayors, was there any discussion of the issue with the pipeline, gas pipeline across the bay?
Not this last one. This last one was the focus was shared services. The meeting prior to that, there was the attorney for clean ocean action came and presented at the, that was prior to when we did our ordinance and our letter of objection.
So it wasn't on the agenda for this. Have we gotten any feedback from the governor's office?
Not personally. They didn't respond to what we sent them, right, Billy? But nothing came across my desk that they responded.
Yeah, no, we got nothing personally, but I thought I read something about another, they're going to have a hearing.
They are going to agree to a hearing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think I read something about them agreeing to having another hearing in the Bay Shore region.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'll confirm that.
A couple other things. Just under communications, there's a item 2, I think it is, having to do with pavers. And where are those pavers going to be placed?
Sure, we're not up to that yet.
The reason, thank you, that's a good lead-in. At the last council meeting, you had a public comment opportunity after the council discussed communications. And I thought that was a fantastic opening because you actually got some feedback from the public that impacted your decision on how you voted. And you dropped it out of this agenda.
I didn't drop it.
I don't know why it's removed, it shouldn't be there.
Okay, so there will be.
Yes.
That's fantastic. I want to compliment you on that. And having that going forward, that's fantastic. I'm going to push one more item. This council passed the new land use ordinance and the new subdivision site plan ordinances and stormwater ordinance, but we still do not have them posted on the borough website. With the track changes removed, I went in and looked at the site plan subdivision ordinance. It's almost impossible to understand what the ordinance is.
My understanding that was done, but I will make sure it's done tomorrow, Mike.
Okay, it wasn't done as of this afternoon. Okay, one other thing, sounds good news about the dumpster enclosure at the Keyport Fishery, but I haven't heard much lately about, and I think the dumpster enclosure for American Legion Drive is coming with the paving, but I haven't heard much about the dumpster enclosure for the area behind Gale's hardware old building, that parking lot. Are there any plans on that dumpster enclosure?
Which resolution is this related to?
No, it's not.
So we'll touch base that under the next.
I'll save it
chapter.
for the next
Okay.
communications opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to come forward on the consent agenda? Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening. John Marella, 34 Broad Street, Keyport. It's basically a couple questions on Mr. Gallo's report. One was Main Street reconstruction.
Yes.
As I watched the project start moving, I noticed that a few households have bypassed the opportunity to have their slate removed, sidewalks, and not with new concrete. Now,
The plan was never to replace sidewalks that were in good shape, even if they were slate.
oh, okay.
If they're
So you knew that ahead of time before that was awarded?
Yes, if they were in bad shape, we were going to replace them, but we also have had a number of people ask us to leave the slates.
All right, because about 25 years ago, we ran into a major problem doing that on First Street. When after the Regional Sewage Authority came through, a lot of homes felt the same way. They had an opportunity.
Sure.
The borough, we gave them the opportunity.
Right.
You want to remove the slate or leave it?
Yeah.
Those that left it would have now hoped they would have gotten rid of it.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, because if you notice on Main Street, some homes that never had sidewalks now have them in front of lots that may have an opportunity to be developed.
Right.
But what I'm getting at is, when you pull the slate curving,
right.
if you don't pull it all, I'm not gonna lie to you, you're gonna have problems.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. It affects snow plowing.
Sure.
It affects drainage.
Curbs are being done, slate curbs are being pulled.
All.
Yes.
All right. All right. Now, the homes that opted to have their slate removed.
Again, they were in the plan to be removed if they were in bad shape. If they wanted to keep their slates, they had to let us know.
No. My question was gonna be, what are they gonna do with it? Now, I know it's a pile of slate on Main Street, only because 25 years ago, again, what we did was, we gave a lot of that and stored a lot of that
Sure.
for the Historic Museum with projects that they may have in the near future.
Yeah.
There's actually still slate around.
The Historical Society has requested that any slates that are removed be deposited in their rear yard. They're hoping to make a patio back there. So we've made an arrangement with the contractor to do that. Well, let's see.
We don't have that. The curb is heavy.
Yes.
The curb is heavy, yeah.
Maybe a second floor.
The residents can take them too. The residents can keep them too, John, I think, but not the curbs.
Yeah.
I don't think they want the curbs, but the sidewalks, I'm making a patio out of the ones that I took.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And, no, that's very good, because you know what, sometimes you just see things and you remember, And one of those things are with Slate, I don't even know that that section of Main Street could be in a historic district. I know East Front Street and some sections of West Front Street, sometimes we had allocated, it was hard, with the neighborhood preservation program, and you had to pull it all because everything wanted to be, all in one, or it should have been together. But when you're talking about your home, that was there maybe before they even bought the house. So who knows, maybe they bought the house because they like the sidewalks and curbs. I'm just saying that, but I doubt that. But the other question I had was, I like the idea that the mayor and council put out RFPs for the waterfront. I really, really do. I think it demonstrates what we have to offer and what we have to get in return. One of the ideas that I thought was good, and I know the Harbor Commission may differ, and everyone's entitled to their opinion, and that is the proposal that was moved on to the municipality about having jet skis. Jet skis docked through our ramp, and the municipality allow them to overnight park or park. They could do it on private property, but I just think when you have a waterfront as strong as our waterfront and so vibrant and so utilized, I think you should look at everything. Not only the revenue that it would generate, because I think that's secondary, I think what it would promote into the town. Boating safety, the school's been talking about maybe bringing back marine trades again. Years ago, there was 3 beautiful, and there's still one working very hard, the marinas in town. You got marinas, you got the waterfront. I know it makes noise, jet skis make noise, but you know what? It is the waterfront, and it is the Raritan Bay, and it is an opportunity for Keyport. And, I also know that Green Acres has got to play a part in that. I mean, Green Acres may think that that's a good choice. There were some things, back when I was on council that we didn't agree on, and Green Acres just said, oh no, you're not locking the pier up at night because you're not doing it. And these are different little things. All I'm saying is maybe before the council makes a concrete decision, maybe we should check with some other agencies to see what they feel.
Can I ask a quick question about the jet ski proposal? I thought that was for jet ski rentals. Are you trying to say it was for jet ski parking, for lack of a better term?
No, it could be. In other words, jet ski rentals, but allowing a floating dock to keep them, it's stored, or keeping them even. Go ahead.
I just want to clarify, what the Harbor Commission stated was it wanted non-motorized rental vehicles, so it was non-motorized.
Right.
So we're allowed pretty much anything else. So one of the key things I would recommend is that we want to start this off to kind of like see what we get out there. There's also safety concern, things that the Harbor Commission was that, with a lot of the pilings and things like that, I think one of the things we want to make sure is whatever we kick off, we want to be very conservative and very realistic to what we can offer. So I would say you want to partner, let's just get what we can get out there, kick it off, and see what opportunities will come later on. But there was a safety concern with the pylons right now, the way that they are, and we have a lot. And again, you could have the tide goes out, you see them, they're out there. So that was a concern, a safety issue, not so much the fact that we don't want them here. It was more of a safety concern. But again, I would say the rule is non-motorized. So we're going to have every other opportunity to go out there and build that business and that expansion.
Can I just clarify something? Sorry.
That was a recommendation by the Harbor Commission.
Thanks. Jet skis are allowed.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the rental program. We're talking about a business rental program, right? Just clarifying.
And that's actually why my clarifying question was if it was a rental, because I read it and I thought it was a rental.
It is.
But
we currently have one now. you know, through one of the marinas.
Yeah, I was wondering if you.
Identical.
I thought it was
They just run them out of the marina,
Right.
but they run through our harbor.
Yep.
And just similar to that, that vehicle they run on the waterfront for the summer on American Legion Drive. Yeah, they, I don't know, one of them three-wheeled motor vehicles, same thing. And boy, we know that makes noise.
That's not to the borough.
Oh, no, no.
Right.
No, what I'm saying is the borough would have the first opportunity. There's rentals on the waterfront, and there's facilities that can rent right to the jet ski owner right now. And it's, according to our ordinance, it's allowed. So all I'm saying is the borough has the opportunity to get that revenue two ways, through rent and through docking. And through, you know, I mean, through, you know, putting them through the rent. And that's all I was saying. Just give it a look. Your concern is my concern. But also, I'd follow up. I'd have the Army Corps down here doing the survey. Any loose pilings, they should be yanked. That's our job. I mean, truthfully. I mean, they should be yanked. And, you know, I would be worried if I just brought my boat in here. You know, that would scare me. And I know, I mean, I have a boat, and I'm paying a lot of money, and, you know, I rent from the borough, and I know there's pilings. I would hop on that real quick, unless he knows and he's staying away from them, but it can also splinter and, you know. But I just appreciate, I think it's good for the community, and I think other things may be good too, non-motorized. I do. I think that would work. But I also think nowadays there's safety programs that come along with the rental of a jet ski. In other words, you're not just getting on there and flying across the Raritan Bay. You have to go, you have to take a course before you get on it, you know, heavy insurance, and you have to look at who's doing it. And all I'm saying to the council is, listen, I was on the Harbor Commission. Harbor Commission does a really good job, and for a long time, and I know where they're coming from. They want to protect the safety for the borough of Keyport, and I feel that. But I also feel, being a waterfront community, we should definitely try and get our waterfront fully motivated for the summer. And I really think, you know, we do now, but I think it could be better. That's all. Thank you very much.
Anyone else from the public? Yes, about the agenda items.
Well, my name is Sabrina Nigro. I'm from Staten Island, New York. I put the proposal in on jet skis. And I just want to know if this is a dead issue in Keyport, or is it something I can go to the Harbor Patrol? I understand that noise was an issue. Now it's safety is an issue. We have a business in Brooklyn. I don't know how many of you went over the report we sent you. We do have a business in Brooklyn where it's really congested. And our safety, we have not had one claim in 5 years on our insurance. We deal in New York Harbor. There's not a busier harbor. Safety is our #1 issue. Everybody has to go through some kind of course before they get on the machine. We have, our safety record is just second to none. There's 3 other places in the city, nobody else has our record. We were invited to come and put in a proposal here. Should we go to the Harbor Commission to see if we can take this further? We thought the noise was an issue. We even brought a machine to show you that noise is not an issue.
Noise isn't an issue.
Yeah, because our guys do not get to touch the throttle until they were out of the harbor.
Right.
If they do, we bring them back in, take them off the machine, and that's it, they're off. Is there anything that you could suggest that we could do to move this further? Or is it a totally dead issue?
Before we go further, can I just have your address for the record?
200 Rosedale Avenue, Staten Island, New York.
Thank you. Anyone on the council wish to comment? Our Harbor Commission, Victoria, I'm sorry, Councilwoman.
Recommendation is you work with the Harbor Commission. It's a Harbor Commission works in partnership with the council.
Okay.
So we rely on them as liaisons, we rely on
Of
those
course.
experts to give us recommendations. And again, you know, council comments.
I mean, I'm sure you guys realize
Right.
pilings are not unique to
No,
people.
I guess, but what my recommendation is that work with the Harbor Commission, whatever, and then from there, we kind of go from there.
Okay, so that's where,
Protocol I will recommend.
thank you very much.
There's the next harbor, excuse me, I'm coming out of something. The next harbor commission meeting is Monday, May 13th at 7 o'clock.
Thank you very much.
Because it'll open to the public.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman, if I may, just to clarify, the borough has not solicited proposals for any water activities. We were in the midst of negotiating back and forth with the Harbor Commission what they would like to see in the wording of a request for proposals for a lease of the boathouse and waterfront access for the provision of water activities. The Harbor Commission was adamant and took a unanimous vote that they wanted the word non-motorized included in that request for proposals. The focus from their perspective was to be on windsurfing, stand-up paddleboards, kayaks, that type of thing. I'm in the midst of finalizing that RFP, and it's our plan to put it out and see if there is any interest. I'm also having discussions with a paddleboard company. We never solicited anything for this type of activity. This came in unsolicited, and it came in twice. I think it's, I would give the Harbor Commission a heads up that there's going to be someone approaching them about it, and let's see what we can work out.
Why are you just not putting in non-motorized? I understand the Harbor Commission, but why are we shutting off that avenue?
We're not, okay? I just got the final wording from the members of the Harbor Commission. My next step is to circulate the proposal amongst you folks, and then I get the green light to put it out.
Can I make a comment real quick about the boat ramp in general? And this sort of piggybacks on
Sure.
Matt's comment. The boat ramp gets really congested. So I own the jet ski. I love jet skiing. I think Keyport Harbor actually, contrary even to the Harbor Commission, I fear, is uniquely suited for jet ski sports, but not from the boat ramp as a business. And let me tell you why. Because as a business, in order to sustain the business, I'd say you might need about a half a dozen or more jet skis that are running. And that's going to cause some congestion, not some, but it's going to cause a great deal of congestion at the boat ramp. If the path to yes, if that's where we want to go, is to bring jet skis in here, my suggestion would be we find another location besides the boat ramp. But that's only because the boat ramp has been utilized for so long and so much as a launch for privately owned vehicles. Now, the non-motorized boats, the kayaks, the stand-up paddle boards and whatnot, can be launched right from the beach, and they're not going to interfere with the boat ramp activity. As a matter of fact, they'll probably take an easterly path around the pylons, right? You know, the boat ramp is really the only place at that area, that small area, where a jet ski, you know, and you know, I know that Mayor Merla suggested a pier out, maybe out a little further to relieve the congestion or what have you. You know, that might be the path to yes. But now, you know,
their proposal included a finger pier with about half a dozen jet skis on the right side of the boat ramp. They were not planning on using the boat ramp at all.
But to access it, they would have to get down and they would have to use the floating docks out.
So their plan has them constructing their own floating docks.
On the right side where the pylons are.
Yeah. On the
outside of the green and yeah. Okay.
There's a drawing in that proposal.
I didn't notice that. I saw the proposal. I read the proposal. I think what may have happened was when we started talking about the boat ramp, I had a little bit of trepidation about that. What is the?
Maybe I have the proposal.
I don't recall it on the right side.
still have to go out to an RFP before we even consider a proposal that was submitted, so.
That would be the plan, yeah.
Do we have any other further comments? Anyone else from the public who wishes to speak on the consent agenda? Have a motion to close.
Motion closed. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
In regards to the consent agenda, I would need a motion to approve everything except for 16819, since we already did that, and we can make an edit to 17419 on the agenda to 36 instead of 35.
Make that motion.
Second.
Can I have a roll call on that, please?
Councilman Sheridan?
Yes.
Councilman Cooper?
Yes.
Councilman Good? Councilman Pacheco?
Yes.
Councilman Topoulos?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDermott?
Yes.
Next up on our agenda, we have a public hearing adoption of ordinance number 9-19, vacation of roadway easement. The clerk will read the ordinance by title.
Ordinance vacating a roadway easement across portions of Block 21, Lots 6, 8, 10, and 11 pursuant to NJSA 40:67-1 as such.
Have a motion to open to the public.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone from the public wish to come forward? Yes, Mr. Brown?
Elmer Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. I just have a simple question in regard to this. Can you explain this ordinance?
Yes.
Okay.
This involves a paper street that traverses Peterson's Marina. It's an historic street that has not been utilized for years. It is completely surrounded by Peterson's property and is comprised of property that is owned by the Peterson family. You may have heard he's in the process of marketing his business for sale, and this issue has come up in terms of this old roadway easement across his property, and it devalues the property. By extinguishing it, it makes the property more saleable. Really, you could identify this if you drove down Broadway and looked to the right. You would see basically a vacant lot that looks like it could be as wide as a street going into their property, but it has not been used as a street in many, many years, and there's no cost to us to vacating this roadway.
And it's going to benefit the taxpayers, right?
Well, the property would go back on the tax roll, and it would also make that property more valuable.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Anyone else, Mr. Twain? Motion to close the public.
Motion closed. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a motion to adopt this ordinance.
Motion.
Second.
Have a roll call, please.
Councilman Sheridan?
Yes.
Councilman Cooper?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Councilman Pacheco?
Yes.
Councilman Topoulos?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDermott?
Yes.
Have a motion authorizing the clerk to publish ordinance as adopted.
Move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Next, we have the public question.
Madam Chairman, if I could ask for consideration, I just received a text message that our CFO is on his way. He had, unfortunately, a conflicting meeting in Tinton Falls today. If we could go out of order and have the public hearing on neighborhood preservation, then I'm sure he'll be here by the time I get finished talking.
Next on was the introduction of the bond ordinance.
That has to go after the budget.
Got it. So we'll skip that for right now, so. So we have a public hearing for the neighborhood preservation plan for the purpose of establishing a citizen participation group serving as a planning committee to develop project proposals for submission to the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs Neighborhood Preservation Plan. Can we get a motion to open this to the public for comment? All in favor? Anyone wish to come forward? Mr. Gallo, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll do an outline and then we can talk about it. The neighborhood preservation program has been funded in New Jersey since the 1970s. Keyport has been a participant in the past in 2 other rounds. Most recently was back in the 2010, 2011, 2012 round. And it involved the streetscape that was built throughout the community. The neighborhood preservation program targets threatened but viable neighborhoods where the Department of Community Affairs resources can be leveraged to create momentum already existing in a neighborhood to make a true and lasting impact. The program focuses on 3 common strategies to spur revitalization. One of them is creating sustainable partnerships to catalyze change. The second is building on neighborhood assets to revitalize communities. And the third is maximizing the impact. The program itself is a multi-year grant program where they supply initial funding to develop a plan. They give you 6 months to come up with what you want to do, and then they provide you with multi-years, up to 3 years, to actually execute that plan. We are interested, and it's also driven by census tract, and it has to be what they call a low moderate income neighborhood. Keyport has several neighborhoods that fit the bill, and they seem a bit counterintuitive, but they involve property bounded by Clark Street up to State Route 35, and then it kind of goes down Atlantic and Church Street, and then west to Lupatatom Creek, and other areas are excluded. Most of Browns Point is excluded, and Lockport is excluded for some reason. But in this particular instance, we're considering focusing on properties that abut Route 36 and State Route 35, as well as industrial properties that have gone into mothballs on Clark Street, the Fragrance Resources property, the property behind it, Semcor, are both held but are not in productive use in terms of job creating or a catalyst. The other situation that we have is along the Route 36 corridor. There are a few businesses there, but there does not seem to be any organization to it. We'd like to see if we could come up with a plan to incentivize redevelopment along the corridor that would be related to tourism, creating perhaps a gateway at the entrance to the community, both entrances, to encourage people to recognize Keyport and perhaps pull off the highway and come into town, and also to leverage those properties, the car dealerships and those types of businesses, to enhance them, to support them in their mission. And at one time there were more. Perhaps that's something that could come back. And also to have some wayfinding and sense of identity and placemaking that basically tells people you're in Keyport, here you are, you've arrived. As you know, a lot of vehicles pull off the Parkway and drive down Route 36 on their way to Sandy Hook or to other destinations and point south. There's no reason why we can't entice them to come into our community and enjoy breakfast on the way or dinner on the way back. And those types of strategies would serve to revitalize those particular neighborhoods that are eligible, but also would spill over onto the community. So that's a concept that we're looking to do. The state has funded NPP for this year. Keyport is one of 3 municipalities in Monmouth County that is eligible, so we stand a pretty good chance. The Department of Community Affairs has neighborhood-based programs that are designed to acknowledge the crucial role of neighborhoods in a community and the opportunity to serve as a springboard to revitalize entire towns. So we're looking to hear from people about whether or not they think this is a good concept, that whether or not we should be spending time and materials on revitalizing our highway corridors. On 35, there's a dilapidated building that we'd like to get rid of. This would form part of that plan. We're also looking for residents and employees, banking institutions, anyone who wants to work with us and serve as a stakeholder on planning committee. The committee is responsible for providing resources, input, and expertise needed to develop an effective NPP plan, and they will get training assistance from DCA. And then the planning phase occurs during the first 6 months of an 18-month grant period, and involves the activities leading up to the grantee's submission of the individual NPP plan to DCA, and then the NPP plan would be a comprehensive strategy for neighborhood revitalization and cover up to 5 years of implementation. So that's basically what it's all about. I did have an initial conversation with Jack Straub from the KBBC about this. We received positive feedback. Jack is here. I don't know if you want to have any comments on this or the strategy, or if you think it's a good idea.
Sure.
Yeah.
Jack Straub, 239 Main Street. Representing the KBBC, the administrator had asked for our involvement, and we were happy to do so. As you're aware, the KBBC is funded by the businesses, by the commercial property owners in Keyport, and a lot of what we do is try to bring people into town to visit the businesses, and a lot of what we do is right here on West Front Street. The concerts, obviously, the events that we have, again, trying to draw people in and bring business to Keyport. One area that we have not done a lot is exactly what Steve said, the business corridors 35 and 36. Anyone coming into town, passing through town, as beautiful as the waterfront is, some of what they see going along 35 and 36 just isn't very inviting. So when the idea came up to possibly use this grant, there are plenty of things we can always do down here, but this was an area that really hasn't had any involvement in years. As Steve said, in 2010-11, spruced up around Maple Place over by St. Joseph's, put awnings out and replaced sidewalks and things like that, and it still looks good this far. But along the highways in particular, Steve mentioned a dilapidated building. There's a lot of things, and people drive by fast, but we thought if we could spend this money and beautify some of that, get rid of maybe some of the eyesores, clean up some areas, just make it more inviting so that when people are driving through on those main thoroughfares, we give them a reason to maybe slow down a little bit and come into Keyport and visit the businesses. In addition to that, the businesses themselves that are on 35 and 36, we're one of them. We, a lot of times, don't get any direct benefit from everything that's held down here and everything that's done down here. We have a beautiful waterfront park, and everyone knows that about Keyport. But this is an opportunity also for those businesses that obviously provide revenue to the town through the commercial property taxes to help them along. A lot of businesses do the best they can, but there are other businesses that need some help. So we're all in favor of anything we can do along the 35 and 36 corridor.
Including the trestles.
We would love the trestle that used to be the railroad trestle. That's the walk. It's not Keyport's, it's the state.
It belongs to the railroad, it's leased to the county. We have been talking to the county engineer about how we can get this thing painted.
I asked Steve, if we offered to pay for it, could we paint it?
Even the overpasses, when you come off the parkway, I know all the towns up north all have the banner and they wrap
something, welcome to Keyport, right, whatever, we'd love to.
See if the county will include it in their Bayshore efforts, and we could do welcome to Bayshore, just something in the ugly.
That's not specifically part of this, but we'd certainly like to fix that.
There's certainly a lot of opportunity to partner with different entities too to try and get these goals accomplished. I think it's important that we get a plan together and get down on paper what we want to do.
So you're looking for a committee for this, right?
Citizens who are interested, sure.
Okay. I have a couple of questions, if that's okay, Mayor. Steve, you had mentioned incentivizing new businesses to come into town. Is that part of the MPP?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that I see at the downtown, in our area in general, is that there is a limited amount of proximal daytime businesses that would frequent the businesses in our downtown area. I know that commercial office space is sort of a pariah at this point, but would they, based on their own experience and their own marketing or experience input, can we look into getting some more daytime businesses that would be consumers of the businesses downtown? Sort of like the one Ed has across the street. Well, you would frequent your own place, right, Ed? But for coffee. But I mean, those are the types of things those are the types of businesses that I'm talking about.
Foot traffic certainly supports business. That's why we changed the ordinance to allow residences on the second floor upstairs downtown, puts people in proximity to the businesses. But also, and that's good for the weekends and the nights.
Right.
Daytime, as you say, there's a limited number of people. I mean, every day, people come forth from Borough Hall and go out to lunch somewhere. So that's a stimulus, having Borough Hall here. Having the court here brings a lot of people in, and hopefully.
At night.
Yeah. So yeah, if we could get some kind of business incubator and employees in proximity to business, that's good for business.
I mean, I agree with that, but I'm asking if that's,
Sure.
if that's in the purview of the MPP.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Kind of guess follow up. So like a work share kind of place, like a WeWork. Kind of
Well,
WeWork is a great idea, but and you know, that's sort of one of the things I had in mind for the makerspace. I think the makerspace is good too. But you know, as far as marketing the borough and the vacant office space in town, we don't have I don't know if Endeavor is moving out of 25 West Front. East Front, or
as far as I know, they are.
Yeah, so I mean, that you know, there's opportunity there to assist that landowner to bring in or incentivize larger businesses to come in, and I'm, you know, wondering if the NPP would provide marketing assistance or something to that effect to help us do something. Not necessarily there, because that's not part of it. But
It would have to be developed as part of the plan that you're going to implement, and these discussions would take place in a round table discussion, and if we're in the plan, then it gets executed in the subsequent, after the 6-month planning period. And they give you up to 5 years, you know.
Can council members be part of the NPP?
I don't see why not.
Thanks.
I have a question regarding the citizen, the group participation group.
Yes.
Demographics of where they're going to be located. So there's no idea of how many people are citizens.
I don't think they give you any restrictions on that, but there is a training program that if we qualify, they send us to, and they will tell you how to organize your steering committee and how the meeting should be organized. They give you a lot of support to get through this.
My question to this is, if you're going to have it drive into areas of development, you want to have citizens who are around that area of development.
Sure.
Speak about and advocate for themselves. That's all.
Yeah, to the extent that they're interested in doing that, yes.
And we'll put a public notice up about this.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Mr. Kelsey? This was open, yeah, I know Steve came in.
Andrew Kelsey, 29 St. Peter's Place. I think this is a great idea. It's terrific. A little bit overdue, but excellent. And I volunteer myself if you'll have me to participate. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Mr. Lane?
Michael Lane. I think this is extremely necessary. When the land use development team was working on the master plan, we discovered there was an old redevelopment plan for the highway district, which accomplished almost nothing in that plan. And so we need a new initiative. I don't know whether the council's aware, but probably back, it was so long ago, Kathy Shaw ran the operation, which was probably 9-10 years ago. There was a county initiative to define Route 36 as the gateway, and I think it was to the shore. And there's a whole set of recommendations that came from the county. Finally, the new master plan really increased the opportunity for development on the highway district. Mixed use has been added to the areas south of 36. The opportunity for high density development is all in that plan. So I think this is a real opportunity, and one thing, I'll echo what Andrew said. I would they very much like to be involved, having worked on the land use element team and having helped craft the new master plan for this area. And I think the new master plan provides a real foundation for going forward on the NPP. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Anyone else from the public? Just give me 1 second. Okay.
Elmer Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. I also want to put my 2 cents in on this neighborhood preservation plan. If it'll help the borough keep what, I also think that's an excellent idea and stuff like that. And if you all need any help with it, count me in too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Make a motion.
If there's no further comment, just one comment, and that's that tomorrow at 10 o'clock I have a meeting with our grants consultant who's going to provide me with more information, and Jack is going to attend. And if anybody's interested, you can stop by. I know it's rather short notice, but it just came together the past couple of days.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, yeah.
In Borough Hall?
Borough Hall.
Should be at 10 o'clock, what?
A meeting with the grants consultant. Actually, it's twofold. One is NPP, and the other one is the cooperative marketing grant that we found out about at Monmouth Tourism.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Can I have a motion to close?
Move it.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're going to go back on the second page of the agenda, and it's time for our public hearing adoption of the 2019 budget, so I would need a motion to open this to the public.
Move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone from the public wish to speak about the budget? Mr. Graham?
Elmer Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. I've been going over this budget. First of all, before I have a few questions. First of all, can you all give a brief presentation on it?
The budget itself maintains fiscal discipline that is the hallmark of the financial administration of the borough for many years. It provides funding for the road resurfacing program that we talked about before. It covers improvements to 2 parks. It includes the expansion into the senior transportation program. It includes the deployment of new municipal management software, which will make us more efficient and effective in achieving our objectives and serving the community. It includes 2 new police vehicles, an asphalt heater box that we use to make road repairs that will be more permanent instead of using cold patch. It allows us to use hot asphalt. We are anticipating an increase in solid waste hauling and disposal. We're out to bid now, and the contract, which had very advantageous terms, is about to expire. We expect that there will be an increase in the new contract. So we've anticipated that in this budget. We increase DPW staff. We upgrade our police and building security systems. It includes the support for succession planning in various departments. We increase recreation opportunities for our children and our families. There is increased funding for the fire department and for the police department. Major drivers of this budget including increased pension costs, the revaluation expenses we were deferred from last year to this year, and police increments and advancement, as well as the garbage and trash that I spoke about earlier. There's a lot of positive things going on in the borough. All of that requires that we spend some resources on those things, but nevertheless, the budgetary increase is held to a minimum, and this is a fiscally responsible budget that meets the needs of the community and achieves objectives that we think are beneficial to the community.
Okay. I went over, excuse me, I went over this budget some, and I have a few questions on it. Can we go to sheet number 4 on it? sheet number 4, fees and permits. For anticipated this year, I noticed you all came to the figure of $260,000.
Yes.
How did you all arrive at that figure? More or less.
Yeah, that's a conservative estimate. As you can see, last year, although we anticipated 260,000, we realized 385,000. When you're utilizing surplus in the budget, you need to leave room to regenerate that surplus. As you can see at the top of that same page, we're utilizing $1,590,000 of our $2.3 million in surplus, and we need to leave room to regenerate that. So conservative revenue estimates, to the extent that we exceed those estimates, helps us regenerate the surplus that we're utilizing.
It's probably also important to note that last year we budgeted for the same thing, but we had an increase because of how much building went on because of the scattered, and the construction fees because of the scattered site redevelopment plan, correct, Mr. Gallo?
It certainly had an impact, yes.
Yeah. So we can't assure that we're going to flip 100 homes again this year, so I don't know that the construction fees will be as high.
Reason why I'm asking questions like this is because my concern, as a taxpayer, and my concern is for the taxpayers of the borough of Keyport and stuff like that.
Of course.
Okay. I guess, more or less, I wish I could ask a lot, but I'm limited here. Sheet number 5.
It's important to note, though, Mr. Brown, that this is a public hearing, which is not held to the 5-minute standard.
Well,
Although the audience may appreciate that, but I do need to make that on the record.
okay, on sheet number 5 here, if you all are there. The energy receipts tax. I noticed for fiscal year 219, you came to an estimate of $640,800. How did you all, as best as you can, how did you all arrive at that?
It's not an estimate, that's state aid. So state aid is given to us by the state of New Jersey. That number has been pretty much the same, I believe, for almost 9 or 10 years. So as you know, our costs have been increasing. The state has not given any municipality, well, I shouldn't say any municipality, any non-urban municipality, any additional state aid. So as our budget's been going up, really less of a percentage of it, considerably, has been absorbed by, state aid. So.
Okay. And I guess just one more question right here. Sheet number 6. I noticed in your the uniform construction code fees. I noticed in 2018 you arrived at $263,827 realized in cash, and the anticipated budget for this year was $200,000. Briefly, how did you all come to?
Same thing, it's a conservative estimate. To the extent that we exceed it, it will help regenerate the surplus utilized in the budget.
All right. And I guess one more thing. Now, if you all really think this is going to benefit the taxpayers at Keyport, or it's one thing as far as does it foresee an increase in taxes for the borough?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea to go over the impact of the budget on the taxpayers. So the increase in the amount to be raised by taxation is 2%.
Right.
However, we have experienced a 4% increase in our assessed values, which means that the municipal tax rate will be going down 2%. So if a homeowner's assessment stayed the same from 2018 to 2019, they will experience a 2% reduction in their municipal taxes.
Okay. I just want to compliment you all on the job in putting together this budget and stuff like that. think you did a good job in putting it together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Mr. Lane?
Just regarding the comment that taxes will go down 2%. The fact is that the total amount of money that the borough taxpayers are going to pay out of their wallet is up 2%.
I did say that. I said the amount to be raised by taxation is going up 2%.
It's just some may pay more and some will pay less based on their assessment. I know mine went up substantially. And
Your value or your taxes, Mr. Lane?
My valuation went up substantially. That combined with the fact that the total amount of money the borough taxpayers are going to pay is going up 2%. There's no question that mine is going to go up significantly. I think that I looked at some of the council people, I think most of you single-family property owners have a substantial increase in your valuation. And so you will see at least 2% increase. I think you'll see more. One of the decisions that was made, and I'm just curious, was we brought the court back to Keyport. And when we brought the court back to Keyport, did we expect that we're going to lose or make money or break even on that?
We don't look at that. Courts are not to lose or make money or even break even. It's a place of justice. We don't bring back the court to make money. We didn't bring back the court to lose money. We didn't bring back the court to even cut out even.
Are you
believe
aware?
it was brought back to streamline the process, though.
Are you aware of how much money we're losing in the court?
In what manner?
Well, you've got a revenue number for the court and you have expense numbers for the court. The difference between the two is either a gain or a loss.
Yes.
And I just was asking whether council was aware of how much money they're losing in the court. And also, it wasn't obvious to me that the court numbers included the cost for the police officers to be in the building. So, you know, one question is there, and I'll just float this, I think we have a real enforcement issue in the borough, and that possibly by working some of the enforcement issues, some of that loss could be reduced. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ling. Anyone else from the public? Mr. Graham?
Albert Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. I guess if I'm not mistaken, the comment was made that when they brought the court back to Keyport, that wasn't the intent for the borough to make any extra money off of that. Did I hear that right? I mean,
And that would imply that we were sending officers out just to write tickets to make money. I don't know that that's what the goal of the police department is, or if they're out there to enforce the law.
no, but I'm sure it's not and stuff like that. But you know, when the court assesses fines and stuff like that, doesn't that make money for the borough?
It depends if it's what the fine's related to. If it's a local ordinance, then it could. If it's a state, if it's written under a state statute, some of that fine is by statute has to go to the state. But I don't think the policy of any police officer, prosecutor, or municipal judge is to take into account the amount of money being raised. I think it's the wrong avenue to be looking for a revenue stream for the municipality.
I mean, I don't think Keyport does that. Keyport's excellent and everything like that, but there are some boroughs in the state of New Jersey and some towns in the state of New Jersey that have that do use this as revenue raisers and stuff like that. I didn't say Keyport was among them. I don't think Keyport is and stuff like that.
Elmer, there was a municipal court judge. She had about, I don't know, 9 or so municipalities around.
Right.
And people brought him in to say, because he promised he would make money for the municipality. I think he was just disbarred a couple of months ago.
I read about that, yeah, for the Park Press.
Right. So, you know, the courts, you know, the municipal courts are not a money-making operation. They are justice and fines to the extent are necessary are to the enforcement of it. But the purpose of the municipal court is not to make money. It's not to lose money, it's simply to enforce the law.
Okay.
We try to make it efficiently as possible.
Right.
Technology.
But you know, as much as I love New Jersey and everything like that, New Jersey has a tendency to do some crazy things and stuff like that. That's our state, you know, and how New Jersey works sometimes. Thank you.
Can I just make a quick comment? I don't know if you can.
No, you can.
The anticipated expenditure for the court is $204,000 and change, and last year's realized revenues in just the municipal court without anything outside of the court was $224,000. So it was higher than what we're looking to expend. Did we read that right?
Yes, you did. The municipal court salary and wages is at 180, and the other expenses at 24. You also have to add in, you know, there's a prosecutor here.
We didn't have the prosecutor.
Public defender, and then you also have benefits and stuff like that.
I stand corrected. So
but that's
it's less, but
yeah.
But still, it's not.
It's not a profit center, no.
It's interesting to point out that one of the topics that came up recently at one of our meetings, Mr. Gallo, was the wish for having a common location so that officers from all the municipalities don't have to send, and so the police departments from every municipality don't have to send someone to Freehold to get someone that may be housed there to come back for a hearing, or vice versa. If they're arrested at night, they don't have to transport them and take an officer off the road. So that was another conversation that did take place recently with several mayors in Bay Shore. But, you know, you had it all timed out, and you spoke about the fact that, you know, you arrest someone in the middle of the night, they stay here until an officer comes in the morning, but now we're taking that officer off the road for at least 2 hours to drive them, to process them down to county and back. So there's definitely conversations out there for towns to see how we can reduce those.
I mean, the administration of public safety and justice is a necessary function of municipal government. We have to spend money on it. It's not meant to be a revenue-generating enterprise. What we strive for most in our municipal court system is that it be fair. And I think it's important to point out, too, that when we were in the joint court, we were losing money, too.
Right.
You know?
No, this is what I was getting at. If I remember correctly, when we were giving everything to Hazlitt, we were losing a ton of money, and the officer off the...
Well, that's a good point. The officer would have to be, if there was someone on trial, he has to go over to Hazlitt and had to wait until they got to the case. Now, the court is deferential to police officers. They try to get them back on the street. But when you have a number of towns and you have officers from each one of those towns, you gotta wait. It's like circling the airport until they get to your case.
In the meantime, that officer was missing off of the
That's correct.
streets here. And the cost of ours was going, our area was going up, while Hazlitt was benefiting from all this. We weren't in the business of making money, but we weren't interested in throwing it out the window of the shelf either.
That's true.
I've heard anecdotal.
Mr. Lane?
Yeah, I may not have communicated well. I wasn't advocating for going back to the joint court, and I wasn't advocating that the police get out more tickets. I was advocating for more code enforcement in this borough. And you can identify the need for it on the weekend when you see a number of contractors that are in here doing work without permits.
Along those lines, I think if you looked at the numbers for property maintenance and code enforcement, since we made some changes upstairs, there have been a lot of notices of violations and summonses issued. I think you're definitely going to see an uptick in that, just because it's being approached differently.
And building on what Steve said, I think those changes have been made within the last month and a half.
That's correct, yes.
And boy, I'm looking forward to seeing some of the violations that I've written up.
Sure.
Get some feedback that they're getting clear.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sitting here getting text messages from our property maintenance officer right now.
There you go.
I can make a couple comments about the budget. First, I would like to point out publicly that I know last year the acronym pilot was a sensitive subject in the borough. But if you look at this year's budget, the senior housing, the anticipated amount for last year ended up coming in $50,176 higher. So, and I know that's because of the assessed value and all that kind of stuff. So we talk about that to the umpteenth degree, but that's a case where it benefited us by $50,000.
We negotiated an increase in that pilot at Bethany Manor.
So that I'm saying that's an increase over than what we expected last year. So that's great that we received that. Also, thank you, Mr. Fallon, for being very proactive in noticing that we needed to address the recycling tonnage expectation that we're going to receive this year. And a lot of municipalities did not do that when I was speaking with them down at the mayor's conference. And they were just hoping and wishing that some kind of tonnage money flies their way again this year. You know, in the last 10 years, I went back to the budgets for the last 10 years, and back in 2016, we received $10,925 for recycling tonnage, which was substantial. And then since then, it's gone back down. And last year, it was only it was not high. So it's anticipated to be even lower this year. I appreciate you being proactive on that, as well as the numbers you built in for the expected garbage contract increase. A couple quick questions I have are now that the exciting news of the senior bus being here, congratulations, Councilman Cooper and Sheridan. Where were the bus drivers for that longer? Is that going to be under senior center budget?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if it was senior or something like that. And we already figured that in, right? And then there was a line item for a community leave, and that is double than last year. Is that because we're having
the number of retirees
coming?
that we have, yeah.
Yeah, 2 retirees.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to be sure. And it indicated that last year for the SRO line officer, we did not receive any money from the Board of Ed for the fall.
We did. It was just an agreement that we entered into during the year, so it was not anticipated as a revenue, so it was accounted for differently. But actually, it reimbursed the appropriation for police.
Perfect.
Is what happened.
Great. I just wanted, in case anyone saw that later, that we are taking in the money for that. So I know it was asked earlier too, so I just wanted to clarify that. And then this is a question that constantly comes up in several meetings. When we have someone do a registration fee for the 5K or sign up for the yoga or all the programming that we're offering, where does that go into the budget?
If it's a general program, it would go into fees and permits. Okay, if it's a program that we're going to utilize those funds to run that program, it goes into the trust fund. So, and there's the trust fund specific for that program.
And then the last question is, there's an increase in $30,000 for recreation. I know that we're just been through all the great programs that we're offering, but those are going to be fee induced. So I know we also hired someone from short-time to full-time. So
You have to show it as revenue, as an expense going out, and then revenue shows up elsewhere. But you can't, like, it's not a wash, it doesn't zero out. It's an expense portion of the budget is shown as an expense, the revenue portion is shown as revenue.
So that's what the $30,000 is.
Yeah, we definitely got to lay out some cash before we get the money back in.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions?
So all of those are the programs that went for RFP, correct?
Yes.
So it's just in the staffing?
That's correct, yeah. And we're treating them as employees. We're going to pay them as employees.
as vendors. We're paying them as vendors.
Correct, that's all, yeah. Great. Great job by the Finance Committee on your budget this year, and Tom Fallon and Steve Gallo, I know it was quite the undertaking, especially with, as I said, some expenses that we weren't expecting, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the Finance Committee as well. We had a pretty lengthy meeting that one particular night, and Tom and Steve went over every line item. And Denny and Matt did a great job asking questions, and I'm really proud of this budget. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Anyone else from the public? Have a motion to close the public?
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I have a motion to adopt 2019 municipal budget.
Move it.
Second.
Can I have a roll call?
Councilman Sheridan?
Yes.
Councilman Cooper?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Councilman Pacheco?
Yes.
Councilman Patopoulos?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDermott?
Yes.
And I have an introduction of bond ordinance 2019 road improvement program. And the clerk's going to read the ordinance by title.
This is a bond ordinance providing for the 2019 road improvement program in and by the Borough of Keyport and County of Monmouth, New Jersey, appropriating $2,570,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,765,000 in bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof.
Can I have a motion to introduce?
Move it.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Sheridan?
Yes.
Councilman Cooper?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Councilman Pacheco?
Yes.
Councilman Patopoulos?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDermott?
Yes.
Can I have a motion authorizing the
Motion.
clerk to publish ordinance as all in favor? We have communications by consent. These are all for approvals. Items number 1 through 7. So when we're approving them, that means that we're honoring all the requests within the communication. So, for instance, number 1 is also requesting a fee waiver, so if we could just make sure when we have a motion to approve 1 through 9. If you want something separate, you need the motion has to be separate.
Well, 8 and 9 are for received and bottom.
I'm sorry, 1 through 7, correct. So if everyone's in agreement with 1 through 7, I can have a motion to.
I'll move it.
Second.
Roll call.
This is 1 through 7 and 8 and 9, right?
No, 8 and 9 can be separate.
Okay. 1 through 7, make a motion.
You said you were going to have a public comment before this vote.
Touche, sorry, it wasn't on here, so I forgot about that. Can I withdraw that motion, please?
Yeah, make a motion to open the public.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, Mr. Lane. Anyone from the public wish to come forward? Mr. Lane?
Item 2 on communications. Where are the pavers going to be located?
So, just from a board member of the KUDC, I could speak to that, but if you want further information, we have other members here as well. But they're contemplating in the asphalt area at the lower base of the mini park, so turn that into a paper section with a stage. But before they move forward finalizing anything, they wanted to know whether they had the boroughs go ahead on that if they were to hire an appropriate state authorized contractor if it came in above that threshold. So before it is not a final project, it is nowhere near, but they were looking for the borough's consent to even do any type of work down there. So that's what that communication is.
Excuse me, Mayor, how can we consent something that we don't know what it's gonna be. There's no detail, it's just an email from Mr. Straub requesting permission.
So what we could do, because this was going to come up at tomorrow night's KBC meeting, there's been some hold off on that, but when this originally was sent in an email, that was a possibility. So we could do a conditional approval, if you'd like, that they come back with the presentation. But originally it was going to just kind of have the same pavers that are on the stairwell and the landing to continue on down to the roadway.
That's how I understood it.
But
I'd like to, because in ex parte conversations with some of the folks involved, the height of the pavers wasn't established. Whether or not is this including purchasing a portable stage or a removable stage?
The stage at this point is going, as indicated at the last council meeting, is going to be a portable stage that the borough is purchasing. If we move forward with the stage, a permanent stage, then that would come back before.
So is this just, I'm sorry to take up Mr. Lynn's time, I'm hoping that you're not timing him. Is this just paving where the stone and the asphalt is now and leveling it off?
Yes.
Do we lose it? Excuse me. Do we lose anything by tabling number 2?
Mr. Lee, do you mind if Mr. Straub comes up and answers also?
Absolutely not. As my question was driven by the fact that it says West Front Street, and now it sounds like it's next to American Legion Drive, which makes more sense at the bottom of the hill. So.
The objective here is to finish the mini park down below and to collectively develop and deploy an appropriate venue for the entertainment that takes place there every summer. I think there are some concerns on my part in terms of proper engineering of design instead of just hiring anybody to put pavers down. And we have engaged in discussions with the KBVC. I met with them last night. We've agreed that this still has a lot of work to be done. We need to come up with a solution for this year that involves an appropriate platform for entertainment. And then our intention would be to apply for county open space funds and to have KBVC assist us with the match and to execute under the color of law the appropriate design and construction by a registered public works contractor.
Sounds like it's been a long time.
It can be done, for next season. I don't see that that's possible. That is possible, but at this point, I don't think we're in a position to repave and put pavers, build the stage up for this year.
So there's no harm in tabling this, because there's no...
To the extent that my understanding of the request from KBVC is that they are requesting permission to help fund this and to help get this done. I don't think there's anything wrong with approving that and to allow our conversations to move forward. They're bound by the same requirements as us. They have to comply with the local public contracts law, and they also have to comply with having the contractor be a registered public works contractor who pays a prevailing wage, depending upon the size of the job. There are little nuances there, but they have to comply with the laws.
Okay, thank you.
And just to clarify, when it says West Front Mini Park, it's because that's where it begins, is up on West Front Street, and it goes down. So that was what we were calling it, the West Front Street Mini Park, just for clarification.
Mr. Straub had to say that.
Yeah. Mr. Straub, do you want to come forward?
The West Front Street Mini Park is where KBC hosts concerts throughout the summer. They've been very popular. They bring people to town. They bring people to businesses. We pay for them. The commercial property owners pay for them. If you notice in the mini park, we have pavers at the first, second, and third levels. By the time you get to the last level, it's blacktop. It's at a pitch. We have discussed, last year we talked about, what if at some point we tried to fix that, to fix the pitch, and instead of just re-blacktopping, maybe put pavers in there, which we had originally gone to the borough and said, if this is a big expense, maybe we could pay half, maybe KBC could pay half, maybe the borough could pay half. Had different discussions. Last year we had 6 concerts during the summer. We rented a stage 6 times. So we thought instead of renting a stage, maybe we could build up the pavers at the very bottom and have a foot riser that could in effect be a stage. So, you know, we've looked at a couple different things. I think the confusion comes in that the reason I sent the email, we're not asking for approval. We're asking for permission. We haven't done any contracting. We haven't, you know, we've started to get some preliminary figures and things like that. But we didn't want to go through anything if the borough didn't give us permission to do it. It's not our property. So all we were doing was saying if the KBBC wanted to explore the option of doing something in the mini park, pavers or whatever it might be, do we have the permission of the borough council to do that? This is not approval. This is not a project that's ready to go. This is something that we started talking about last year. We think maybe if we could get moving, we could come to some kind of a decision this year, and it would be ready possibly for next year. So all we're doing is asking permission to proceed to look into something along the lines of pavers where the blacktop is now.
Mr. Straub, is there a possibility we can do concrete instead of pavers? Because
The borough can do whatever it wants.
I'm asking what was the thought to get to pavers? Because the issue with pavers, especially when there's performers, is that there's unevenness, right? And band shell in what used to be the band shell, now stage in Belmar, and other types of venues like that are concrete or at the most stamped concrete. They're not really pavers. Does it have to be pavers?
It doesn't have to be. Again, expense is a factor. The real idea was to fix the pitch and to uniform the look, because if you sit up top, you see pavers all the way down and then you see blacktop. So if we were going to fix the pitch, the idea was instead of just re-blacktopping, why not put something there, pavers or whatever. And I understand the issue about a stage. Again, the discussions went to what if we extended it further and had a 1-foot riser so that when there were no concerts in the winter, it would look nice. Visually you'd have pavers going all the way down. And then you could put a stage on top of that or put a platform on top of that or something along those lines. But again, it's not our property. Before we go into anything, you know, starting to get, you know, bids and things like that, we just wanted to know if we had permission to proceed.
I think the letter specified pavers though, right?
It did. That was the idea, was to look into putting pavers there.
I don't think the plan though was to have the stage be made of pavers.
Right.
Ultimately, I would envision having a concrete platform surrounded by pavers on both sides.
Yeah. The facing could be pavers. In other words, when you're looking down, you'll see pavers. The actual flat top wouldn't be pavers. They're not going to.
Would be concrete.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I mean, I'm all for improving it down there, but scalability on my end is pretty important. As it is on yours.
Again, it was just, if it's something that we're going to be paying for, it was just something that and I've worked with the administrator, and there's a possibility, as he said, some grant possibilities. But before we did anything, it's not our property. So we wanted to ask permission first to proceed.
Thank you.
So can we reword this? Rather than permission to install pavers, permission to look into it?
I would just coordinate with the business administrator to bring this to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, we'll cooperate and we'll come back with a budget and who's paying for what, and you know, hopefully we can get something done within the next couple of months.
So, Councilman Kusakis, you're requesting for communication number 2 for it to say you would like permission for the borough. I would like permission of the borough to look into the possibilities of upgrading down below. Is that okay?
Instead of installing it, yeah. Because the way it read, I thought we were okaying them. Yeah, I agree.
To look into upgrading, how's that?
Yeah, however you want to do it.
Do we actually need a resolution okaying them to look into talking to us about possibly doing something?
Just communication.
Or approve something.
Well, if we're against it, they won't do it.
And the reason that we're doing this, again, because it's public property, if you go to bid anywhere, we have to have, KBBC would have approval. will require for a to get a bid. That was the explanation we understood.
That makes sense.
So that's the only thing, we're just asking for the approval to be able to go and get a RFP or whatever it is, with the grant, work with the borough to get what we need to move forward.
Yeah, that sounds good. That, the way that's worded sounds good too, just not approval to install pavers.
So my suggested proposal for a motion is the first sentence, after the comment I have, the KBC would like permission of the borough to look into upgrading the base of the West Front Street mini park. So you're okay with that?
Sure.
Cool. Cool, fine. That would be my suggestion, but I can't make that motion.
Motion.
So that would be for communications 1 through 7, with that adjustment.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, do you need roll call? For communications?
Yes.
Okay, we will. Hold on a second. We didn't finish, Sorry, you're right. Sorry, Mr. Wood.
Somebody that wants to.
Yeah, and Mr. Langley.
He's not old.
Really long process.
Sorry.
Is this the time to bring up some items that need to be talked about under new and old business?
No.
No. So you don't want that input prior to new and old business? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Phelps?
Andrew Kelsey, 29 St. Peter's Place. Just to address Councilman Fotopoulos' concerns a little bit about concrete and pavers, the best way is to put pavers on top of concrete. If you've ever been to downtown Freehold, back in the 80s, the mid-80s, they redid all those sidewalks with brick, and they're all set on concrete. And the brick is beautiful. If you go over to Red Bank, they're not set on concrete, and the bricks are all over the place. So whenever we think about pavers or putting brick in downtown, very much consider putting them on concrete because it lasts a very long time.
I'd rather use your the video that you sent me. I'd rather use big pieces of bluestone, to be honest with you. But the issue that's with pavers is when a guy has to roll his 200-pound bass amp up over the stage. Boom, 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 boom.
Right.
I'm thinking,
It's sitting on sand, and I just notice it all around town. There's a lot of places, not just borough product, but homes that put pavers in. Over time, the sand can wash out, and also in the winter when it freezes, it expands, and then it collapses and expands and collapses. So that's a problem with that. So, you know, whatever it is, I found that the concrete lasts the longest, and you can see the pavers in town. There's spots that are just not in very good shape at all.
We just had to redo the mini park, so.
Yeah, so that's all. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else from the public? Have a motion closed to the public?
Motion closed.
Then I have some motion for items 1 through 7 for approval with what you mentioned before. Roll call.
Councilman Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Cooper?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Councilman Pacheco?
Yes.
Councilman Fotopoulos?
yes.
Councilman McDermott?
Yes.
Items number 8 and 9 are to receive and file.
Motion received.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Cooper?
Yes.
Councilman Good?
Yes.
Councilman Pacheco?
Yes.
Councilman Fotopoulos?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDermott?
Yes.
For the approval of minutes of December 18, 2018, I know some have to abstain.
Move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All abstain?
Aye.
I abstain.
We have new business. Anyone on the dais have new business to bring
just wanted to thank the fire department for its inspection this past Saturday. They looked great, as always. And thank you to Mayor and Council for showing up and supporting. And we actually had some people for our parade cheering us on. You don't see that very much. So.
And I get to ride in the fire truck.
Way to go, Chief Young.
Wait, let's get Hank to say ordinance again.
Yeah, forget it.
That was his favorite word.
Turn page.
Thank you.
Do we have unfinished business on the day? I have a couple quick items. Mr. Gallo, we have any updates from 333 First Street, First and Walnut on that property? It is really...
I would tell you that they get a daily summons about the ponding water.
Okay.
And we
the
have
fencing and the orange rolled up.
Yeah, the fencing does nothing. I mean, it's just bad in a pile. Code enforcement has been on top of it. And the chickens will come home to roost soon when they get to court.
That's still on the area needs Garrett site redevelopment.
It was approved as an area needed redevelopment with condemnation. We can pull that trigger anytime we want. I can have council send them a letter saying that if they don't do something soon, that we will exercise our rights.
That's the last resort. Is there a, in my opinion, is there a redeveloper established for that site or no?
The owner of the property's got an approved plan. He just isn't doing it.
Can we take the same approach at some point that we took with our marine?
He was never designated developer, but we could designate somebody else.
Okay.
Which would probably light a fire under them.
Okay.
If I could go backwards on new business for a minute, tomorrow evening at 5 o'clock at the Keyport Food Pantry, we're going to have a ribbon cutting for is that the official name, Mr. Councilman Sheridan?
What?
The skipper?
Yep.
Okay. So the bus has been named, and it is the skipper, and the ribbon cutting will be held tomorrow. And again, I commend Mr. Gallo, as well as Councilman Cooper, Councilman Sheridan, former Councilman Leverson, for that 3-year project of seeing a need that our community had, and when the county services were reduced to our constituents, and fighting hard for that grant and seeing it through to the end. So congratulations to all of you for making that happen for our residents. Also under new business, what would be the process if we wanted to maybe, I don't even know what everyone's pleasure is on this, so if we wanted to add a spot in the municipal parking lot for 10-minute Uber Eats or DoorDash drivers, because I feel like a lot of them are just trying to go in and grab the order to go make a delivery in town. At the restaurants, Broad Street Diner, Old Glory, McDonald's, it is a very popular thing now. So I find them parking illegally instead, which is a safety issue. So would it be better maybe to make one spot in the back municipal lot that was designated for Uber Eats drivers? And again, I don't know, I'm asking.
It's a good idea.
It's a good idea.
Maybe they could just Uber Eats, right? Just make it like
order pickup or 10-minute parking, maybe like something like 5-minute parking. I don't know.
In the borough of Belmar, they do have designated Uber spots, not for Uber Eats, but for pickups from the bars at night. You'd have to do it by ordinance, and we would install special signage. I know that there's a battle going on between Uber and DoorDash right now.
That's why maybe we just do 10-minute pickup. I don't know. I don't even know if anyone agrees with that. It's just something that I've noticed when I've been in the eateries that a lot of people are.
It's not the world's worst idea. I just think we need to.
With the bike.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Line bike.
Line bike. Line bike. Line beats. Maybe we should have our own, right? So I don't know. Is that something that we want to move forward and even look into?
Right. We could hash it out. Figure it out whenever you want. It can be now or whatever. But
maybe grab something and send it out. And then the other one was over by the school. Now that we have a relatively new business over there, as well as one that was there before called Domino's, and now Cheese In. I guess so that the students and faculty weren't parking on all those streets. You can't park Monday through Friday
It is a difficult area to park, although every time I've gone, I was able to find a spot.
Is there any way we maybe can look into that and we change it to no more than an hour parking? Because then it would still reduce it from being students or faculty.
Sure. Yeah, if that's your pleasure.
I don't know what the day of his pleasure is on that, but it would help sustain.
I mean, on the surface, we can talk about it, but yes.
I think it's one of those other things.
We have to look and clean up, and so, I don't even know what ordinance number that is, but maybe
Get
we can
police
look at.
input on that.
So even if it's just, that, Jackson Street over by the school,
Yeah.
We should talk to them.
on, between Central School and the high school or something.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I
Okay.
can't get to my grilled cheese sandwich.
I'm just asking, you know, again, I don't know what
Stuff doesn't happen if you don't have ideas.
And I'm sure that ordinance, you know, it totally makes sense so that, you know,
Sure.
there's.
On the Uber end, I would see what the KBVC thinks.
And we could bring this up tomorrow night.
Sure.
And I can shoot an email out to you guys and let you know what the consensus is, if you guys are even open to
They
it.
make a good cheeseburger.
And good cheese.
Getting hungry now.
I know, right? Okay. I announced that earlier, but I can do it again under new business. Just a reminder from Councilwoman McDermott that Saturday we are having ribbon cuttings for several new businesses in town, including Funhouse, their main location, and their second location on West Front Street, Italian Touch, and Eyelash Place, sorry. Okay, so now we can go to, unless anyone has anything else. Now we will open it to public comment. If I have a motion for that.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Gus?
Andrew Kelsey, 29 St. Peters. On the topic of that Uber Eats spot, I think it's a good idea, but if we're ever going to get together and hash out parking issues and come up with a good plan for parking, I think that should be held off until then, so we're not painting spots and designating spots and then want to change it later. I think that would be a good idea. On the topic of the slate curbs, did I hear that some of that stuff was up for grabs, or?
Yep.
So I could lay claim on slate curbs?
I have to find out what the contract with the contractor is. I'll inquire tomorrow.
I would love to get my hands on slate curbs.
It's gigantic. I don't know how you move it, you know?
If he's able to drop them off, and if he's planning on carting them off anyway.
They plan on carting them off because they make money off them.
Okay, well,
I don't know. I'll find out.
let me know. I mean, I would love,
Sure.
I was instructed by Trevor to have people who are interested contact him.
Trevor himself? Yeah, that's fine.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask him tomorrow. I'll let you know.
Okay, great. Onto my handout. I brought this up last year, and maybe there's already something in the works, but I was down at the waterfront park this weekend, and that first side is of the gazebo at the waterfront park. The pictures of the lights, those are lights that are out. I don't know if you're aware of that, but there's quite a lot of rust on that gazebo. And that's really bad, and for things to get to this point, it's not good. You know, the waterfront park is really like the centerpiece for the downtown and trying to turn, you know, our business district around. There really needs to be a plan. I mean, there should be a plan for everything in the borough and all the parks, but I know it's, you know, we're short-handed, we're short on funds, but we really need to make an effort for that waterfront park to every year go out, find all the little details, touch them up, do preventative maintenance, because when it gets to the point when people are noticing that the damage is done, we really need to make a great impression. And we're going to compete against other towns and whatever, the bar has to be raised. So, and you know, it's really bad, especially people are having their pictures and their weddings there, and that's really not nice at all. On the flip side, just some more shots of the railing. I know the railing, these are on the fishing pier, and I know elsewhere last year the railing got painted, and it still looks good where it did get painted last year, to me.
He did this also.
On the fishing pier?
He did.
Yeah, maybe just because of the fishermen and the heavy use.
So it's important to note that a lot of the areas where the paint keeps coming off from are the areas that of railing that were replaced after Sandy.
Okay.
And the engineer did look into contacting them for some kind of warranty because the pieces that were not replaced, we do not have issues with chipping paint. Last year we hired a laborer in DPW who, Steve, I would say, spent the majority of the entire summer painting. I don't even know how he was able to like climb over the railing half of the time, but he definitely took pride in painting a lot of this. So I did notice though down in Beach Park parking lot that the paint is coming off again. So
it seemed like along the promenade where I had noticed it last year, it looked pretty good. Okay. Like there weren't a lot of spots that were
like
missing paint.
Okay.
So, you know, maybe these are new spots. I don't know if they're the same spots that were painted again. But my point is, we got to be proactive and kind of hit these things before they're really noticeable, and there's so many of them. In the lower left picture, that's right on the dock for the fishing boat. We got a hole, and that board right above the hole is loose. So I don't know who's responsible for those repairs. If that's the company that leases the spot, or if that's the borough.
No, that's us.
Yeah. So I just want that, bring that to everybody's attention, and you know, there's some issue with the pavers down there as well. But I just want to push that maintenance is so important, and to be ahead of the game, and to you know.
I appreciate this. Thank you.
All that stuff.
To piggyback off of that, I did notice also this weekend that the signs in the boat ramp lot we were going to take down last year that said for trailer parking only because I was not allowed to be up. So they're still up. So
sure.
Anyone else from the public? Frank?
Elmer Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. I know you all said this Saturday there's going to be several ribbon cuttings for new businesses coming into our borough, which is great. Prior to Saturday, are you all going to advertise these on Facebook, you know, so the public can come out and see it and all that?
In the past we hadn't, but it is an initiative that we would like to move forward. But I don't know if we'll have it in place for this Saturday, but we could certainly try.
Yeah, because it would be nice for the public to see these new businesses and stuff like that, you know, especially if it helps the economy of our borough and everything like that.
We do usually promote it after they've been cut, but it was a comment that was made last year that maybe we should let the public know in case they want to attend.
Yeah, it would be very nice. Thank you.
Thank you for the suggestion. Ms. Brewing?
Michael Lane. One of the things that was mentioned was 333 First Street, which is down at the end of my street. That land is really low. It needs to be elevated. Just as 44 Beer Street, the borough pushed that that site be elevated. The borough really needs to push on 33 First. And there may be an opportunity with 25 East Front. We'll have to excavate a huge amount of filth or dirt to put their parking garage at the elevation of 13 feet. It'll be just a very large amount of fill that's available in the borough. And so if there was some way to get that together. On new business, I don't know if there's new or old business, the outfall pipe construction of Beach Park, is that going to take place after the summer period?
No, it's proceeding at pace. The contract is awarded, and they're going to construct that as quickly as possible.
Is there any evaluation of what the impact is going to be on the boat ramp?
I don't believe there'll be any impact on the boat ramp.
Heavy construction equipment, no plows.
To the east of the boat ramp. It's important that we get this done as quickly as possible. It's intended to assist with flooding. I would like to have it done before this year's hurricane season.
Sounds like one's happening right now.
Rain. It's gonna flood the back office.
Chief, you wanna make sure you're...
He doesn't know.
I'm just curious, how is the heavy equipment and the material, are they gonna be delivered? Are they gonna be delivered on the east side of the kids' playground?
No.
So they're gonna go through the boat ramp area?
Right.
The dumpster enclosure for the parking lots behind the old Gales Hardware or the Dunkin' Donuts, etc. What's the status on that enclosure?
There aren't any more dumpsters behind Dunkin' Donuts, and I walked through there today. I didn't see any dumpster behind Gales Hardware.
No, I mean, is there a central enclosure? They're talking about having.
Yeah, everything's been consolidated at one location. Yeah, it's centered at bank.
So there's one centralized.
That's correct. Everyone's cooperating at one location.
And is it enclosed?
Not presently, no, but it's kept in good shape. It's kept clean, and moving forward, we're going to have to find a location where we could have a common dumpster enclosure constructed.
Because there is a borough ordinance. It's about 4 years old. It says that dumpsters have to be in an enclosure.
I understand.
All right. One other thing. Is there any update on the homeowners association and the planning for Mystic Keyport?
No.
No.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Chief?
Chief Hank Young, Keyport Fire Department. I'd like to thank the mayor and council for coming out for the fire inspection. It was a great day. I would like your assistance and reaching out to the public, for volunteers. I'd like to sit down with Matt Good, the fire commissioner. Dennis brought it up to me, looking out to grab more volunteers. My question is any way we get an incentive for new members to come in to be volunteers?
That's an idea. That's an idea, and we can definitely,
I will say that I'm glad that Governor Murphy retracted his idea of taking away the one incentive that they had, and that's no longer on the table. I was a little, so happy to hear that.
Yeah, me too.
But I'm glad that that was reversed. We can maybe form, I guess the fire commission can maybe go over that with you.
Yeah, we'll sit down, we could sit down with a reorg meeting.
There are grant funds available to aid in recruitment efforts. So we can ask our grant consultants about what's available. Usually would provide funds for advertisements, for events, that sort of recruiting events, that sort of thing.
And that would be a big help.
Sure. I'll inquire tomorrow.
We have open roles. We're not completely, the rosters aren't all full.
No, we still got some openings. My secretary, Jackie Kovacs, was sending out a letter to the high school. But we need more incentives and more ways to reach out to the public. I'm also working with the Bayshore Chiefs in the state to sit down because it takes 16 to 18 weeks for guys to go through the academy. If you're a father of 4 kids or 3 kids, it's a lot. And that's, it makes it a little tough to get volunteers. That's why Homedale and other towns have a hard time grabbing volunteers.
Because of the length of the academy.
Yeah. Yes. It's a lot of
And the
hours.
average age for someone to join the fire department is
18 years
usually
old.
someone
Well,
that has kids yet, or no?
The cadets are 16. To join the fire department is 18. Be firefighters. But like I said, our biggest problem is just trying to reach out and the state too is making it a little bit harder to get volunteers.
And the academy is on Saturdays or Saturday and Sunday?
Saturday and Sunday, right now, Tuesday and Thursdays, but they could go to Middlesex, and there's other academies they could go to.
Chief, with regards to the academy, are they allowed to participate in fire department activities, or are they allowed to go on calls?
They're allowed to go on calls, they can't be in the hot zone, but they can't be next to a fire, they gotta stay by the fire truck.
Okay.
We call them probies.
Equipment runners and stuff like that. Yep. Okay, good. Just like the first aid too, same thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just a random thought as you're bringing this up, if childcare might be an issue, maybe something that we can look at one of the firehouses to have childcare, then maybe from the like the auxiliary, or volunteers that might be willing to help off. Because that is a long time, 18 weeks if you have children. I'm sure the husband or wife, depending on who joins, that's a lot. So
You can put everything on the table, anything that makes it work. All right, guys, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Chief. Anyone else from the public?
Dan Fox, 20 Church Street. I just want to say one thing Mr. Gallagher said about grants for the fire department. Our grant writer never gets us grants. We've gotten one grant in the last 15 years. It's for like 10 grand. But that's the problem with the town, with the fire department, first aid. We depend on everything in grants, but we never get them. Our fire department is running with 35-year-old Scott packs, 3 30-year-old trucks, 2 15-year-old trucks, a 20-year-old truck.
One brand.
And 1 2-year-old truck. But
and have you provided
not one Class A pumper, so when they do our survey again, everyone's fire insurance will go up. Because the borough does not have not one Class A pumper.
And have you provided us with grant opportunities and we didn't move forward on them, or you're just saying that we've applied for grants and
We've never closed out a grant going back almost 15 years.
Right, what I'm saying though is that have you presented us with grants that we've tried to apply for with our grant agency and they were denied by the state, or we just don't even listen to the suggestions?
No, they're denied. They're denied all the time because.
By the state?
By the state,
okay,
because we were told by the chief financial officer not to close out that one grant because we'll get a fine. It's cheaper to spend the money on the fine because we've been going over this for years. And we've been told, Tom Ballard, do not close it out, you don't want to pay $80,000 fine.
That's not true.
Okay. It goes back to
about 15 years ago.
About 15 years ago, and since then, because there was an error on what was purchased during that grant, was specific what you can buy with the grant, and we did not do that. So since then, we've gotten one small grant, and that wasn't from the state.
And whose fault is that?
That was the chief at the time, but nothing was done about it. But it's the borough's applying for the grant, so to me, it would be easier to pay the fine up front because we've lost out in millions. First, they get grants all the time. The fire department doesn't get any grants.
How about if we move forward and try and get some grants now?
But you have to take care of that problem in order to get them done.
I think you guys should take care of that problem. I never told anyone not to do it. I can tell you that. I don't know where you. I'd like to know who told you that, actually, because I.
Chief after chief of the fire department. I'm telling you.
It's funny. It's funny.
Let's see what we need to do. Move forward. Okay? Because there's no reason why we shouldn't be looking at grants for the fire department.
I think that's what I wanted to clarify.
Just to clarify, we absolutely apply for grants for the fire department.
No, that's my
every year.
Okay.
From a variety of sources, not only from federal sources, state sources, private sources, none of which would be impacted by a grant from 15 years ago.
And Millennium's very good. They're very good about that.
We've only had that few years.
We apply for several grants all the time that we don't get from the borough standpoint either. I mean, how long do we apply for safe routes to school? I mean, we don't always just get grants. I mean, we wish we would, but we don't get grants.
No, but they base it on your town's budget, your fire department's budget. If you're a district, if you're not a district, your hours chief, we apply for the Scott packs.
I know one thing that you're missing here. And when you're putting in for grants, I've reviewed grants for the federal government and for the county, and I've put in for 38 grants for my own organization, all of which I got. And I'll tell you one thing, when you're going out and applying for a grant, you have to ask yourself questions. What's the grant for? What is it going to do to food services? How can you justify it? If you don't put in the who, what, when, where, why, and how, it's out the window. And you can say all you want, but you got a good organization here, fire department. And I would be hard pressed to vote against anything on their behalf. But when you're coming out with something, you got to give them a reason why they should give you the money.
We do that, so does the borough.
Somebody's not doing.
But like I was saying before, when I was chief, the borough's Millennium applied for the Scott Pack grant we've done before. And it's based on how much money the town has, how old your stuff is. Clipwood has over $1 million budget. They got the grant first round. Keyport hasn't gotten it, we've applied for it, I think, at least 4 years ago.
I put in for personally almost $500,000 worth of grants. And I was told I was going to get anything. We got all of them. We didn't get them all right away. But I had to put out a good financial plan for what we wanted to do with the money, how we were going to spend it, how much is going into it.
We do that, we turn that over to Millennium. But like I'm saying is, we've only gotten one grant in the last 15 years.
So that's
Look that up and ask the federal government why.
Well, you can do that through the Oprah because you're entitled to get an answer from them. And the bottom line is, before you say what you aren't getting, you should go to your chiefs now and see what you need. And have some sort of plan.
They already
touch and agree and be on one line.
Thank you, Mr. Powell.
Be safe, guys.
Stay dry.
Anyone else from the public? Have a motion to close the public. Second.
Second.
Sorry.
All in favor? Next on the agenda, we have a grievance appeal hearing of Salvatore Costanza on behalf of DPW employee Trevor Underwood, and we're hearing this in public.
I defer to the union. You want to have it public, you want to do a closed session?
We do it in closed session.
Okay. The union has requested closed session. Make a motion going to close.
Second.
We got to talk about what's going on in closed.
Before we go into close, we just have to have the attorney be,
Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, unions are likely to have a hearing in closed session, so we're honoring that request.
oh, okay. Okay, so we're going in, closed session for the grievance appeal hearing.
Okay.
There's a motion in a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who motioned in second?
I motioned it, I did it second. If he did it with breakfast, I'll do it with something. Take a,
we're gonna do it before the closed session, not the grievance, because we have to open it back up and then go back and close. This is just-
I'm parked down in front of me. Huh? I'm parked